Yeah.
You know, as a young guy, he resembled like a James Dean.
Oh no, he's got that one picture there with the leather jacket. It's like that looks like James Dean. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I think it's, well, I know what, I saw it Thanksgiving. I took my mom over.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that. I was there when you guys came over. Yeah. Yeah, your mom wasn't doing it well. So.
Yeah. But she looked so
Oh, yeah.
Daughter. Yeah. Well, I the Walmart.
Sure. Oh, okay. Yeah. Mom, we were still in high school, running around together. That friendship lasted the whole life. I mean, it's like I never had any friendship that ever lasted any type like that.
No, not like that.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody from my school stuff. But they were like, yeah. Yeah, but it was like best friend. But 4 or 5 years, you haven't talked to them 2 years. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, but those two were like,
Yeah. Hey, Roger. Have you looked at the pictures of when you're this level? Oh my gosh, you always
Somebody sitting here.
I said, man, she comes back, we all four can sit here.
Now, how many kids did Jimmie have? Two.
Yeah, Tammy and then Rodney, he's like, he's about to set the kind of bucket hat on. That's his daughter.
Yeah, I know.
That's her son.
Sit over here with us. Rodney gonna sit over here with us? Where's Rodney?
He'll be right back.
Hey there, everyone. My name's Jen. I'm here with Routzon Funeral Home on behalf of the Routzon family and Aleshire family. I just want to thank you all so much for coming out this evening to honor, to remember, and to celebrate the life of Jimmie. Certainly, your presence here is greatly appreciated. Before we begin services today, I do just want to make a quick announcement. If you guys wouldn't mind reaching into your purses, pockets, or whatever you got and just pulling out your cell phone, either turning it off or on silent, just so we can all really be fully present in the moment here as we remember Jimmie. With that being said, and without any further ado, I would like to invite our celebrant, Riley Bennett, forward to begin our services here today. Thank you all so much.
Well, as Jenna said, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for being here to support the family. I know that's hugely important. As she said, my name is Brian. I'm what they call a funeral celebrant. I have a normal day job, probably like many of you. I'm a leadership consultant by profession. But I do this with the Route Song team because a few years ago, I lost my mom to cancer. And doing what you're doing today by coming together, seeing some old pictures, seeing each other, sharing some hugs, that's all such a huge part of the healing process. So again, thank you so much for being here. I always like to come early so that I can see the pictures and meet as many people as I can and kind of catch the energy of the room. And I'll be honest, you guys are a little rowdy for a funeral. And but from the story that I got to hear about Jimmie, this would suit him exactly as he would hope to be. And that's what the family wanted to make sure of. I had the privilege the other day of sitting down with Pat and Tammy, and I asked them a bunch of questions, and they just did a beautiful job of being able to tell me Jimmie's story. And we cried some, we laughed a lot, and they wanted to make sure that we struck the balance today of being able to mourn his loss, because let's be honest, it's hard. It's just hard. But there's a lot to celebrate in this man's life. And we wanted to make sure that we struck that balance here today. I know that this has been very unexpected for the most part. Even though I know there's been some health issues that they both had. Pat told me they've been trading back and forth, being caregivers to each other, especially for this last year or so, which was a beautiful story. But I know that his passing came very unexpectedly to them and to probably to many of you. She told me on that Tuesday before he passed, they really had a good day. He got up to wanted to get a haircut, so they went out and get a haircut, and he told the person cutting his hair that there was only one person that it mattered to, and that was Pat. And she liked it. She liked his haircut that day. They went to Cracker Barrel after that, and really were able to have a good day until the next morning. And I'm telling you, I've been doing this for a long time. And when there's a sudden loss like this, when you don't expect it, you can take the normal grieving process and multiply it by 100. Because you just don't have anywhere to put it. And I tell you that today so that you can give each other a little extra grace. Because today really starts a new normal for the family, for many of you that knew him. And they're going to need support. And that's why you being here today is so incredibly important. And he was born in 1942, and if you do the math, that would have put him. He was a child right when World War II was going on, and all the aftermath of that. He would have lived through the civil rights movement, Vietnam, where he served our country, Korea, the JFK loss, the rise of personal computers. You know, when the first computer was invented, one computer would have taken up this entire room. And now we carry them around in our pockets and purses and call them phones. You have so many different things, not to mention the personal pages and chapters of his story, many of which I suspect you are, and that's why you're here today. It would be fascinating to be able to look down on this room right now and to see all the different relationships and all the different moments and all the different conversations and memories that you guys represent. And, you know, there's a lot of pages and a lot of people in his life. A very wise person once said, it's okay to miss him. It's okay to say his name every day if you need to. It's okay to continue to talk to him every day. It's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to breathe deeply. It's okay to smile when you think of him. It's going to be okay to have days when you can function, and it's going to be okay to have days when you just don't feel like it. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to hope. It's okay to be thankful. And the biggest thing is, it's okay to be honest about however it is you're feeling. Probably the biggest thing that I've learned about grief in the last decade or so is it can be kind of messy. It doesn't even affect two people in the same family the same way, because you have different relationships in your life. That family and friends can do after a loss like this is just give each other space. Just give each other space, because the only right way to feel today is exactly how you're feeling today. And the best thing to do is just, because you know that first year is the hardest. The first year, you have the first anniversary and the first birthday and the first everything. And you're going to feel like you're doing okay 7 months from now or 3 years from now. And all of a sudden, something out of the blue may happen to remind you of Jimmie, and you're going to be right back to where you are today. And that's okay, because that's what healing is. And my advice is, if that happens, you just stop whatever you're doing at that moment, and you let that moment do whatever that moment was supposed to do. I'm a big reader, and one of my favorite authors is a guy named Frederick Bachman. And one night I was reading one of his books really late, and I read this paragraph, and I got up and I typed it out because I thought it was so powerful. He said, over time, I've realized that deep down, almost everyone asks themselves the same sort of questions about life, especially as we get a little older. We start to ask ourselves the question, have I made anyone proud? Have I been useful to society? Was I good at my job? Am I considered generous and considerate? Does anyone want me to be their friend? Have I been a good parent? And ultimately, we ask ourselves the question, you know what? Does my life even matter? And you guys are showing today in a lot of energy and in a strong number, Jimmie's life mattered, didn't it? And it sounds to me like he could go down that list and check yes, 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 and yes to every single one of those questions. I'm a big believer in something that I call holy collisions. And what I mean by that is, if you think over your course of your life, there are certain times that we're lucky enough to run into the exact right person, and we run into them at the exact right time of our lives for the right reason that we were supposed to run into that person. That's what I call a holy collision. You might be sitting next to or near one of your holy collisions right now. And you think back to that very first moment you met. You know, where were you? And who said hello first? And what was it about each other that has led to the significant relationship that it is today? Because if you think about it, you can set aside everything else. The only thing that really matters on this planet is relationships, especially those significant ones. And whenever I have the privilege to do a service like this, I consider this group of people sitting in this chapel on this evening, we're our own version of a holy collision. Try to explain why this group of human beings would ever be in the same room at the same time. And here we are. And let's be honest, when we parked our cars a few minutes ago, I would suggest that many of us have things we're worrying about. There might be a big decision you're trying to make right now. There might be something going on in your life tonight that nobody else in this room is even aware of. And all that stuff's going to be waiting for us when we get back in our cars. So my hope and my prayer is really simple. I hope that by the time we go back to our busy lives, we're going to take some of Jimmie's spirit with us. And to me, that is the most powerful way to celebrate someone's life, when their story makes a difference to our story. So before I go any further, if you're comfortable joining me, I'd like to invite you, if you would, to join me for a quick word of prayer. Okay? God, I thank you for this holy collision of friends and family that have gathered tonight in such a powerful way to represent a man who really did it right. He affected a lot of people. He loved a lot of people. Thank you for exactly the way that you made him. And God, I don't understand how you do it, but I have a personal belief that somehow you can look down on a room like this and you know what's going on in the lives of every person in every chair in this room. And so I pray in the next few minutes that we have, that as we listen to Jimmie's story, that we might learn something or change our perspective on something or even feel something from his story that we can immediately put in place in our own story. By doing that, make sure that his life is not over, his story is not over, it's just going to begin again in a brand new way. So thank you for letting us be here tonight. In your name we pray these things. Amen. Well, I know that one of his main holy collisions of his entire life is this beautiful young lady that's sitting down here. And first question I got to ask the other day was how they met. I always love to hear the story of how they met. And she said they were both young. He was working at a gas station. And for those of you younger people out here, you may not realize, but in the old days, they would come out to fill your gas tank. And Jimmie was one of those guys, and he came out to put gasoline in her car, and she didn't remember exactly what the spark was, but he noticed her. She noticed him. This was way back before dating apps, but they swiped right really hard. Somehow phone numbers were exchanged, and she said she just kept going back for gasoline there. And that started a relationship that they got married in 1968. And if you know anything about their story, they've been together in some way or form ever since that day until today. And that's a long time. I told her yesterday after hearing their incredible story that if they were a Netflix movie, I would watch it. And it's just an incredible story. They're the classic example of if at first you don't succeed, try again. And they have done that. And what I loved hearing more about Anthony, you could tell when we talked yesterday, you love listening. They did it together. They in sickness and in health, that's where the real test of a relationship comes from, and they did that for each other. Well, before we go any further, we wanted to just take a moment in case any of you from where you're sitting might want to share a real quick memory or a thought, or when I think of Jimmie, this is what I think about, and you can do it right from where you're sitting if you want to. And this is usually that really awkward moment where nobody knows whether they should or not, but just in case somebody had something they wanted to say about Jimmie, wanted to take a quick pause for anybody that wanted to do that. Anybody at all?
I will.
Yeah.
I always think of how much he loved the photography, the Blue Angels. That was like his passion.
I understand he was really good at it.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Good. Anybody else? How many of you knew him from either Walmart or Frigidaire? Oh my gosh. Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. I was in here earlier when the Walmart crew brought this plaque. I just think that's a beautiful thing. Anybody else before I go on? Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I understand he loved to do that quite a bit. Yeah.
I would say that he comes to our farm all the time, and he's always a really inspiration to all the people that are there and taking pictures and talking to people, and he's just always a genuine person.
Not the best thing you can say about another human being. I saw another hand somewhere. Yes, sir.
Jimmie was a very good man. I worked at Walmart and one of the door hosts there, but I got to know Jimmie years before that. He developed a picture of my grandfather, and he just got a kick out of how my grandfather looked in front of I think it was an Oldsmobile car. And I still have that picture to this day. And I think that formed a bond of how I felt about Jimmie, but I didn't know he was so well loved until I actually been a door host, and people would come up to me, and probably just a couple of days ago, my last day was Sunday, I probably had 80 people come up to me and ask me about Jimmie.
Wow.
You know, because they saw the memorial that we made for him and had flowers and stuff. So many people he loved. So just by saying that each and every one of us sent Jimmie into heaven. He's a good man. And for his family, real quick, and then I'll stop. Human beings have a hard time believing in heaven and God and creation and things like that, because a lot of us, even to this day, we are killing each other at war. But I say that to say this, we take it for granted that we have life. If you take a drop of water, ocean water, and put it on a glass and take a microscope and look at it, there's a whole universe of life in there that you cannot see. Saying that, that's kind of like how heaven is. Something that a man has a hard time believing in because we can't see it, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. we take it for granted that we have eyes, that a cat walks around, an ant walks around. And I say this for his family. You know, I know you're going through some great pain because I lost my mom, my dad, my grandmother, my grandfather, all my grandparents, my brother last year. So I'm going through great pain myself. But I have faith and believe that when I see them again, I will not be, cannot comprehend the joy that I will have when I see them again. That's how you have to see this. So everybody just hang in there. As human beings, as a human race that exists, there's more to this.
Well said, brother, really. I'm out of a job, thanks a lot. No, that was awesome. That was awesome. One thing Jimmie liked to do, Pat said she found several of these around the house, is he would take these little pieces of paper, and if he ran across a little inspirational saying or something, he would write it down. She found several of these and gave them to me. One of them says, "The happiest people don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything." I like that. You don't have to be that unpleasant. It doesn't become you. It was said by Shirley MacLaine in an interview with Mike Wallace. Here's a couple of on this piece of paper. You have either excuses or you have results. Temporarily motivated to be permanently lazy. Get excited about what you're doing. And on the other side, he has a saying, listen more than you talk. Don't share, share and educate. And also on the other piece, I have every password that I have. And I don't want any responsibility. You all saw me hand that piece of paper back to that thing. So, and that's what as I asked them questions about Jimmie, I wanted to know more about him as a person. They said, he just never knew a stranger. Pat said she spent hours of her life waiting at a door, waiting for him to wrap up some conversation somewhere. She was always the one ready to go, but he was not. And it sounds like his Walmart greeting job it just fit him to a T. And I love the perspective that the brother shared here a moment ago, because wherever we go, in this room, at Walmart, at a stoplight, we just got to assume that every other person's got a story going on. Every person's got a story going on. And it sounds like Jimmie was aware of that. At home, I got to hear about his love of photography, and she told me about all the pets, all the dogs that they had over the course of their life. He loved every one of them. And the unbelievable thing about dogs and cats, but more dogs, I think, they know a good person, don't they?
They do.
They know a good person, and they could tell that Jimmie was a good person. I understand he loved photography a lot. As we already said, he loved music. Tammy told me when she was a kid, they had one of those old-fashioned console machines that played records and cassettes. Again, you young people, you can ask somebody else what a cassette is. But he would come in a lot of times into her room and take over the console so that he could listen to the music. And if you got here early, you were able to hear some of his favorite music that was playing early. And I got to hear about his work life. And one thing that I don't want to gloss over, you can see the pictures over here and the flag that's there. He was very, very proud of the time that he served our country. And I don't think in our country we do near enough to say thank you to the men and women who serve us. And so not only to Jimmie, but to any of you that have served our country on behalf of the rest of us, a sincere and heartfelt thank you. We'll never be able to say that enough. I understand he loved to wear his veteran hat a lot when he was around, and following his military service, he had a long career at Frigidaire before transferring to General Motors, and he worked at Amway for a little bit. Whatever he had to do, that's what they said. If he needed to do something, he would go do it. And one of the main reasons that he started working at Walmart was because they needed to be able to take care of all the medical bills that they had. But that led to a great second career. I've been doing a lot of spying on Facebook because I wanted to see the impact that he had. And there were a couple of notes, and I don't know if these two guys are here, but I want to take a moment. There were a couple of notes that I thought were especially powerful. One was written by Rob. He said, I just wanted to take a moment and send my sincerest thoughts, prayers, and condolences to Jimmie, his family, and all those affected at my former Walmart store, store 1504. Jimmie was someone I had the absolute pleasure of working with for several years and would always brighten every room he was in. He was always very kind and was tough as a man as they come. His mastery behind the camera was second to none, and his photos and his editing were truly some of the best work I've seen. He taught me a lot during my time working with him in the photo lab, and I couldn't have wished for anyone better to take me and show me the ropes. I will greatly miss him, and so will a lot of people. Thank you for your service to our armed forces, and thank you for being such a good friend and coworker. May God guide you home and keep you safe. And then Daniel said, Jimmie was the man. This one hits hard. When I met you, Jimmie, I was expecting my first time ever to be a father, just as I got hired at Wally World. I was homeless at the time and working to do better. Every single day you would ask me about my day, and every single day you would listen and give your wisdom, not just to me, but anyone that entered that store. You were the face of Walmart 1504, not to just the employees, but to many customers too. Even after I left, anytime I popped back in, you knew exactly who I was. You were always a strong person. Ever since I've known you, I'm sure you found peace on the other side, and you're sharing your amazing wisdom with the others you have joined. Rest easy, Jimmie, and I'll see you on the other side. And that's the story that I got to hear over and over. You know, I'm 61, and when I was a kid, one of our iconic cultural heroes was Mr. Rogers. So many afternoons I sat and listened to Mr. Rogers come into the living room. And what I didn't know as a kid, though, was what a brilliant man Fred Rogers was. Now, somebody once described him as a philosopher and a cardigan. Listen to this description of Mr. Rogers and compare it to what you know and what you've heard today about Jimmie. His whole life was a masterclass in presence, kindness, and what it means to truly see people. He lived the kind of quiet life and legacy that sneaks up on your soul. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah.
You know, after 9/11, when the rest of us were scared, shaken, the president at the time asked one person to address the nation to calm us down. It was Mr. Rogers. You can still watch his speech on YouTube. I've watched it several times. And in part of his speech, he said, we are all called to be tikkun olam. And that's a phrase from ancient Judaism that means repairers. Repairers of people and repairers of creation. No matter what our particular job is, especially in our world today, we are called to be repairers, to bring joy and light and love to this broken world. And it strikes me as I was preparing today that that's exactly what Jimmie did. When he met a person, I could tell by all the pictures that I saw of him earlier, what I loved about the pictures was he was absolutely present in every one of those pictures. The only important people during that moment of that picture were the people that he was with at that moment of that picture. And I can only imagine that he treated every coworker and employee the exact same way. And wouldn't our world be a much better place if we all left here today committed to doing the very same thing? And just exactly like he did. You know, in every way that you can possibly add up life, Jimmie wins. You know, one night, a few years ago, I was with my middle son doing what a lot of people in this part of the country were doing. It was a Monday night, and we were all getting ready to watch Monday Night Football. And it was a big night because that night the Bengals were getting ready to play the Bills. And if you know anything about that night, as many of you do, whether you're a sports fan or not, all that excitement came to a screeching halt the moment that young Damar Hamlin hit the turf. And again, whether you're a sports fan or not, it would be almost impossible not to know something about that story because it traveled all over the world. And watching it, I don't think other than watching the events of 9/11, I've ever seen anything more shaking on television. I couldn't stop watching. 60,000 fans were quiet. These young pro athletes were shaking and crying. The broadcasters didn't know what to tell us. And in the next couple of days, I don't think I've ever heard so much open talk about prayers and miracles. And 2 days later, on Wednesday, if you know the story, they got an answer to their prayer because Damar Hamlin woke up. And he couldn't talk because he still had tubes in his throat, but he could write. And reportedly, they gave him a little whiteboard and a marker. And the first thing that he wrote down was, did we win the game? And in a moment of profound wisdom, the doctor dealing with Damar Hamlin said this: you did. You win, Damar. We didn't even finish that other game. I have to believe that the moment that Jimmie woke up his eyes on the other side that we can only imagine and dream about, I believe Jesus Christ looked him in the eye and said, Jimmie, you win. Well done. Now I know on this side, to the family, it doesn't feel that way because this is an incredible loss. And if you hear me, if you forget everything else I've said, you can hear this. It's okay to let this suck because this sucks. It shouldn't have happened. He had more time left. But he made a big difference on this side. And the Jimmie that I got to hear about, I didn't have the privilege to know him, but the Jimmie that I've heard about and the Jimmie that you all knew, he would want us to go on living with him. He would want us to go on making a difference to every person that we ran into. And that's our challenge today. As I close my time with you, I'd like to share a reading with you. All of us are getting ready to walk out of here, and we still have the one thing that unfortunately he doesn't have. We still have time. And that's what this reading's about. It's called If I Die Today. And it says this: what if I died today? Would I be proud of the life that I've lived? What if I died tomorrow? Have I been happy? Would I be proud of the person that I've become? Has there been love in my life? Have I given enough love? Have I shown those I love the real me? Could I have done things better or differently? Will anyone miss me? Will anyone on earth be better because I was there? Because the truth is, not one of us sitting in this room tonight knows for sure we're going to wake up tomorrow. We did not walk into this room with that guarantee. So, if you don't like who you've been up to this moment, what if we made a commitment to change and we make it today? In Jimmie's honor. We have a person we have a broken relationship with. What if we tried to mend it today? If you can give more love, give it today. If you can play more and work less, decide and commit to do that now. If you can do anything to improve the quality of your life, write down everything that you can change, everything that can't wait for tomorrow. You've been putting off an apology to somebody. What if you said you're sorry today? You need to give somebody a hug, go ahead and give them a hug. You need to give somebody a call, go ahead and make them a call. What if we decided to stop waking up caring so much about what everybody else thought about us that we got up every single day and we did what Jimmie did and decided, you know what, today I'm going to be the very best version of me. I'm going to try to make a difference today when we're present, when we're fully living, when we're in the moment. So get excited about your life. Love your life while you're still living it, because our new life, in Jimmie's honor, starts the moment we leave this room. It starts right now. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your holy collision tonight. As we close, Jen is going to come in a moment and give us our instructions. But as we close tonight, for those of you that would like to, I'd like to invite you to do something. You know, whenever I think of somebody important to me, I think of their hands. No doubt, Jimmie's hands changed a lot over that very first moment when he put gasoline in your car. Our hands are the only thing that we have that nobody else on the planet has. They're unique to us. So as we leave tonight, you're going to be given the opportunity as you're dismissed to come forward this one last time. And on this beautiful urn that's been picked out, if you just like to take a moment and come up to the urn and somewhere on it, leave your handprint as your way to say thank you to Jimmie for what he has meant to you, and your way to make a promise to him. Because if you share the belief that Jimmie has, that there is life on the other side, then on a night like tonight, you don't have to say goodbye. You can simply say and mean it, Jimmie, we'll see you later. Let's pray, and we'll be back, okay? God, again, I thank you for letting us be here together tonight. I thank you for the incredible example of a life well lived. To Jimmie, it sounds like the thing that mattered the most was people. And I pray that as we leave here today and we go back to the people who are watching how we do life, that we'll take some of his spirit with us. In your name we pray these things. Amen.
Amen. So this does conclude our services here at the funeral home today for Jimmie, but I certainly do want to mention as well, following services here today, the family is going to continue remembering and celebrating Jimmie's life over at Marion's Pizza, right down here on Shroop, the one in Town and Country. So certainly please feel free to join and to continue to share memories, to laugh and to be here and just supporting each other during this time. And then I'll say too, as Brian said, before we dismiss today, my associate in the back there, Ellis, he's gonna kind of dismiss from the back forward. So certainly please feel free to come stop by and say, see you later to Jimmie here, and certainly a family will be here as well if anyone didn't get the chance to visit with them prior to services. I wanna thank you all again so much for being here this evening, for the Aleshire family and for Jimmie. You all go in peace and take care. Thank you all so much.